You know, inside the female body, there's this incredibly complex and powerful journey that unfolds every single month. It's a really intricate dance of hormones and biology. So in this explainer, we're going to decode that journey one step at a time.
Okay, let's kick things off with this really powerful idea. We're not just talking about periods here. We're talking about what experts are now calling the fifth vital sign. Yeah, think about that. It's a key indicator of your overall health, right up there with your pulse and your blood pressure. The menstrual cycle literally tells a story about your body's balance, and today we're going to learn how to read it.
So who's in charge of this whole operation? Well, let's meet the conductors of this incredible monthly performance. It's like a symphony of chemical messengers all working together in perfect time.
Right here, this is mission control. The HPO axis is this super sophisticated communication network. It's like a constant text thread between your brain, specifically the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, and your ovaries. The brain sends out signals, the ovaries respond, and then they send signals right back. This constant feedback loop is what directs every single step of the journey.
And this slide introduces the four main players in our hormonal orchestra. Think of FSH as the coach, telling the almond-sized ovaries to get the eggs ready. Estrogen is the builder, preparing a lush, welcoming home. LH is the one that gives the green light for the main event. And progesterone? That's the sustainer, the one that maintains that home just in case a special guest arrives.
All right, let's get into the first phase of the journey. And you know, surprisingly, it actually kicks off on the very first day of your period. The body is always looking ahead, already preparing for the next round.
This year, this is the roadmap for the whole cycle. We start with the building phase, then we move to the big climax, ovulation, and then we enter the waiting game of the luteal phase. And from there, the cycle either resets or it transitions into a pregnancy.
So get this, even as menstruation is happening, the brain is already sending out FSH to get the next cycle started. A bunch of follicles in the ovaries respond, and as they grow, they release estrogen. And this estrogen has one critical job, to rebuild the lining of the uterus, that amazing upside-down pear-shaped organ, making it thick and rich with nutrients.
So after about 2 weeks of all this careful prep and hormonal buildup, we finally reach the absolute peak of the monthly cycle. Everything, and I mean everything, has been leading up to this one single moment.
Now, this is a fascinating switch in that feedback loop. For most of the first phase, estrogen is kind of telling the brain to chill out with the hormones. But once estrogen hits a high enough level for long enough, it flips a switch and basically screams, "Go!" The brain gets the message and responds with a huge surge of luteinizing hormone, or LH.
And that LH surge is the direct trigger. It's the final push that causes the most mature follicle to burst open and release its egg. The egg then travels into the fallopian tube, and that right there is typically the place where fertilization can happen. This single, precisely timed event is the moment when conception actually becomes possible. But the window of opportunity for that egg is incredibly short. And what's really amazing is that this egg comes from a finite supply that a woman is born with. So once it's released, it's only viable, meaning it can be fertilized, for about 12 to 24 hours. Just a very brief moment in the grand scheme of the month.
Sperm, on the other hand, are way more resilient. Under the right conditions inside the female reproductive tract, especially with help from fertile cervical mucus, sperm can actually survive for up to 5 days.
So this big difference in viability is what creates what we call the fertile window. Because sperm can hang around waiting for the egg to show up, intercourse on any of those 5 days before ovulation, plus the day of ovulation itself, can lead to pregnancy. That 6-day window is really the key time frame to understand.
So what happens after ovulation? The body's mission totally shifts. It goes from preparation to maintenance, and it enters this period of watchful waiting. Welcome to the second half of the cycle.
Now that structure that released the egg, the now empty follicle, it doesn't just disappear. It undergoes this remarkable transformation into something called the corpus luteum. And this new structure is basically a temporary but really powerful hormone factory. Its main product? Progesterone.
Here you can really see the two halves of the cycle side by side. The first half, that's all about building, and it's driven by estrogen. The second half is all about stabilizing and preparing for a potential pregnancy, and that's driven by progesterone. Progesterone makes that uterine lining super receptive and keeps it stable.
So after about 10 to 14 days, the journey reaches a fork in the road, and it all comes down to progesterone.
If no pregnancy signal is received, the corpus luteum breaks down, progesterone plummets, and the uterine lining sheds, resulting in a period. But if an embryo has implanted, a process that takes about 6 to 9 days after fertilization, it starts producing a hormone called HCG. That's the one detected in pregnancy tests. And it acts like a rescue signal, telling the corpus luteum to keep that progesterone coming to support the pregnancy.
You know, this whole hormonal orchestra isn't just happening invisibly. It actually creates clear, observable signs that you can learn to track. It gives you a window right into your own biology. One of the most direct signs is the change in your cervical mucus. As estrogen rises right before ovulation, that mucus becomes clear, slippery, and stretchy, a lot like raw egg whites. This fertile quality mucus is specifically designed to help sperm survive and travel. Then, after ovulation, progesterone takes over, and the mucus quickly becomes thick, sticky, or even dry again. Paying attention to these changes is a real-time way to know what your hormones are up to.
And that really brings us to our final thought. The menstrual cycle isn't just an inconvenience. It's a powerful feedback system. It is a vital sign telling a story about your health. So the real question is, are you listening? By understanding its phases and its signs, you gain such valuable information about your own body. That's all for this explainer. Thanks so much for joining us.